Alright, look, it's not really a big surprise when I tell you that Michael Jackson is one of, if not the greatest artist to ever live. From his time being with the Jackson 5 to his solo music to his passing in 2009, from his record-breaking records to basically inventing music videos, he was considered by many to be one of the greatest artists within the past 50 years. Even after nearly 12 years after his passing, many people are still talking about his music to this day. And although some of his records are now starting to be beaten by other artists, he will always be remembered as an icon, a legend, an influencer to millions of people. But although his stuff is very well known by many, there is a lot of stuff that has yet to be known about the guy. Stuff that, although has been mentioned a couple times, we barely even know about it. And I think you already know where this is going since you read the title of this video and clicked on it. That's right. Today we are going to be talking about the Michael Jackson Iceberg. Oh, I've been wanting to do an iceberg video for so long and I never really got the chance to do it until now. But before we can get into it, I would like to thank Master Michael 777 for letting me use their Michael Jackson Iceberg for this video. There is a couple things that are left off of this iceberg that I will be adding here, so expect some random things to pop up here and there. Now, before this iceberg starts, there's actually a couple points that I want to bring up. I just want to get this out of the way, but this iceberg will not bring up anything regarding Michael's passing or any of the massive accusations that were going on against him. This list is mainly specifically going into details regarding his music or facts about his music that we didn't know about or stuff that went on related to Michael's life, just other stuff that aren't connected to any accusations or deaths, aside from This Is It, but that's kind of different. And so, with all that said, let's begin. Michael Jackson's discography. Over the course of 30 years from 1972 to 2001, Michael has had 10 solo studio albums. Got to Be There, Ben, Music and Me, Forever Michael, Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1, and Invincible. The last 6 of which are only considered the most essential albums in Michael's discography because a lot of the box sets and a lot of the stuff related to Michael only consider these to be the main Michael Jackson albums, not Got to Be There to Forever Michael. The short films. This might be mentioning the fact that Michael considered his music videos short films because they're like little stories. And to this day, many of his fans still consider them short films and not music videos because, well, they are short films. Of course, some of Michael's most iconic short films are the Thriller short film and the Billie Jean short film, Moonwalker. Moonwalker is the name of a Michael Jackson movie that was released on October 29th, 1988. The movie, which also contains short films from other songs from the album Bad, Speed Demon, Smooth Criminal, and Leave Me Alone. Moonwalker also had a bunch of different video game tie-ins for it released afterwards in 1989, with the most iconic which being the Sega Genesis version, which I will get to later. The live performances. One of the many things that people know about Michael is that fucker can dance. What better way for him to display that than to perform it live? His live performances are still considered by many to this day to be some of the greatest moments related to Michael, and I don't think we'll ever see anything like it. This Is It. Around the time of Michael's passing, he was planning and rehearsing for a set of comeback tours titled This Is It because they were going to be Michael's final live performances. And of course, tragically, after rehearsals had wrapped up, Michael had passed away, and they didn't want to let any of it go to waste. So in a span of 4 months, in October of 2009, they had created the This Is It movie and This Is It soundtrack album. Michael Jackson's feature in Somebody's Watching Me. On January 30th, 1984, Rockwell released his debut album on Motown Records, Somebody's Watching Me, the title track of which has a chorus that features the one and only Michael Jackson. But it's actually kind of a double-edged sword since a lot of people consider this a Michael Jackson song, even though it's not. It's a Rockwell song. And it's also kind of weird for me because I grew up hearing this song thanks to a remix that was used in a Geico commercial. Someone Put Your Hand Out. Someone Put Your Hand Out is the name of an obscure MJ song that was supposed to have been written for Bad, but then later written for Dangerous, but then left off the final track list, but was then released as a promotional single thanks to Pepsi to promote the European part of Michael's Dangerous World Tour that was going on in 1992. Besides that, the song didn't really get a full release until the Ultimate Collection box set in 2004. You know, before I started this iceberg, I actually thought this song only got a release thanks to the Ultimate Collection, but as it turns out that wasn't the case. However, the cassettes that Pepsi released at the time go for a ridiculous amount on eBay, so that's kind of sad. Fall Again. Much like Someone Put Your Hand Out, Fall Again was also released on the Michael Jackson Ultimate Collection box set. It was originally written for Michael by Walter Afanasieff and, you believe it or not, Robin Thicke. Yeah, Pre-Blurred Lines Robin Thicke, and a demo of it was recorded in 1999. Which also still has one of my favorite moments of Michael in the studio regarding the production. I love this moment so much. That's cool. Great sound. Michael's demo songs. Any Michael Jackson enthusiast could tell you that Michael has recorded a ton of demo songs throughout his life, and most of which we have yet to listen to. Blame It On George has mentioned Michael's unreleased songs and demos in his Lost Media Iceberg, so I'll put that in the description below. But yeah, Michael has recorded a lot of demos throughout his life, whether that's demos that would later become finalized songs or demos that just stayed as demos. But either way, it's unclear if we'll ever get to listen to all of them. The Dome short films. The Dome short films are the short films that were originally going to be used for the This Is It concerts. Some notable ones include the Smooth Criminal one, the They Don't Care About Us one, which has a bunch of soldiers, Arth Song, and Thriller, which was my personal favorite out of the bunch. At first, I was actually kind of confused as to what the Dome projects meant at first, and although I don't have an exact answer, I do know for the fact that these short films that I mentioned earlier for the This Is It concerts are indeed officially called the Dome short films, so I thought that was kind of neat. The prison version of They Don't Care About Us. During promotion for the History album, Michael had actually made 2 different music videos for They Don't Care About Us, the most iconic of which was the Brazil version, which right now has about 800 million views on YouTube. Jesus fucking Christ. But the other version that a lot of people don't know of, and it actually got released on YouTube way later on, was the prison version. This one of which actually has a much darker edit that has yet to be fully seen. But yeah, this one has a much more darker and gruesome tone to it than the Brazil version. The uncensored version of They Don't Care About Us. They Don't Care About Us is one of Michael Jackson's most controversial but yet most beautiful songs ever. The song ended up appearing on the news because of its second verse, which features lines regarding anti-Semitism. I don't want to go into too much detail about it here considering I've actually talked about this before, but simply put, they thought that Michael was anti-Semitic because he said those, even though Michael isn't anti-Semitic, and thus Michael had to send out an apology in copies that featured the uncensored version of the album and had to cut those parts out in later versions of the album. The first pressing vinyl versions of which actually do feature the uncensored version of the song, and because of that, they end up going for outrageous prices, some going for around 2,000 tops. The extended version of You Are Not Alone. Much like a lot of other Michael Jackson songs, You Are Not Alone ends with a fade out. However, unlike a lot of the other songs that ends with a fade out, not a lot of people have yet to hear what continues on after the fade out. And one of the few official glimpses of what goes on outside of the fade out also comes from the Ultimate Collection box set. But thankfully, there are extended clips of the acapella that exist on YouTube. Michael Jackson composing the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. One of Michael's semi-known iconic moments is his collaboration with Sega, not only for the Moonwalker Sega Genesis game, but also him composing the music for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. There's a really good video made by the D-Pad that talks about the Sonic soundtrack during this time and also the comparisons that it has to Michael's own music. In fact, the chord progression and sound for the Sonic 3 credits music would actually later go on to become Stranger in Moscow. Also, I don't know if this has anything to do with it or not, but I always thought the melody for Is It Scary sounds a lot like some of the music in Mario Paint. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I thought it was a really neat connection considering that he also never really liked composing the music for Sonic 3 or Moonwalker as well. Michael Jackson in The Simpsons. The season 3 episode Stark Raving Dad features a character that's said to be Michael Jackson that's actually played by Michael himself, though he, just like in Sonic 3, goes uncredited. In fact, Michael himself had actually made a song for that episode called Happy Birthday Lisa, but in the final version of the episode, it's sung by a completely different person that slightly sounds like Michael. However, tragically, due to the Leaving Neverland documentary, Disney Plus had ended up removing Stark Raving Dad from their catalog. Captain EO and The Wiz. I'm gonna put these two in the same spot here, considering that these were Michael's first movies. The Wiz is a musical adventure film that was said to be an all-black rendition of The Wizard of Oz. The movie starred Diana Ross as Dorothy, Nipsey Russell as the Tin Man, Ted Ross as the Lion, and of course, Michael Jackson as the Scarecrow. This movie was actually made a year before Michael would release his album Off the Wall, so that's pretty cool. And about 8 years later, on September 12, 1986, Michael would release his own movie, Captain EO. Believe it or not, this movie was actually written by George Lucas, and it aired in Disney theme parks. Oh, that's such a weird coincidence, actually, with Lucas and Disney. But anyway, the movie had aired at a few select Disney theme parks between 1986 and 1998, but later on, in 2010, after Michael passed away, they reopened it. This movie would also give us a sneak peek of Michael's then brand new song, Another Part of Me, which would later go on to the album Bad a year later. The This Is It costumes. One of the things that sadly went unused when it came to This Is It was the costumes that were made for it. The costumes had already been designed, and some of them were actually worn by Michael himself, one of which I thought was really cool was the Billie Jean costume, in which they took the jacket and pants and put LED lights in them that would match with the beat of the song. I thought that was really cool, and apparently according to the interview of the designer, Michael himself had also loved it. It's actually kind of tragic that we never got to see Michael perform in these costumes. Mind is the Magic. Mind is the Magic is a song that Michael wrote for the iconic magic duo Siegfried and Roy. The opening would then later go on to become the introduction for the This Is It version of They Don't Care About Us. The instrumentals for Dangerous comes from Streetwalker. Okay, I actually didn't know about this until I saw this Iceberg, but as it turns out, the melody for Dangerous, mainly the bass line, actually comes from Streetwalker, which was a different song that Michael had recorded during the Bad era. The song itself wouldn't get released until the 2001 special edition of Bad, then later on Michael Jackson Experience, and then later on the 25th anniversary version of Bad. This fact would later on appear in the 1994 lawsuit of Dangerous, but I'll get to that later on. Leaked unreleased music. Now this is kind of already well known, but it's not as well documented. There have been a plethora of instances in which some of Michael's unreleased music or demos had ended up being leaked online. In fact, the title track for the 2014 album Escape had already had its original version leaked all the way back in 2010. I think same for the other songs, but I'm not certain. But yeah, there's plenty of instances in which some of Michael's unreleased music or demos ended up being leaked online, whether that's from leaked audio from the studio or leaked digital copies. Either way, it has happened before. The 1999 Munich Bridge accident. On June 27, 1999, Michael was performing his second show of the MJ and Friends concerts in Munich, Germany. During the finale section of Earth Song, where Michael was standing in the middle section of the bridge, which was supposed to be slowly levitating and then slowly descending, it ended up descending too fast, causing it to collapse to the ground a bit too hard with Michael on it. Miraculously, even though he ended up suffering with a few back injuries after that accident happened, he ended up continuing to be able to perform that show until it ended. So that's kind of incredible. The Giving Tree. The Giving Tree is not only the name of an iconic children's book, but it's also the nickname given to a tree that was located at Neverland Ranch. It was given that name because Michael would always sat down in that tree to write some of his song ideas. It was actually the specific location that Michael got his ideas for the songs Heal the World, Childhood, and Will You Be There? Michael Jackson owning the Beatles. On August 14th, 1985, Michael Jackson bought the publishing rights to the vast majority of the Beatles' catalog for about $47 million. I'm curious to know if this also went on to some of the albums like Abbey Road or Sgt. Pepper's or even the White Album. Man, how weird would that be to own a copy of the White Album with Michael Jackson on the rights to it? That'd be weird. But after Michael's passing in 2009, Paul McCartney managed to get the rights to the Beatles catalog back. Michael Jackson wrote and produced Do the Bartman. Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that not a lot of people knew about this, especially considering that they name dropped Michael in the song.
Just get out, man. If you can do the Bart, you're bad like Michael Jackson.
But yeah, Do the Bartman was a song that was released for The Simpsons on November 20th, 1990. To be specific, not only did Michael Jackson write and produce the song, but also another writer and producer named Brian Lauren, though Michael goes uncredited when it comes to producing the song. Man, what is it with Michael working for other people and being uncredited? Was he a fucking ghostwriter? Lady Gaga canceled collaboration. Apparently, this fact comes from an interview with Michael's choreographer Travis Payne, in which he said that Michael was really interested into doing a collaboration with Gaga out of a list of other celebrities that would consider for a collab. And apparently, Gaga never heard about this until November 2009. Imagine if that would have happened. Imagine that collab with Michael and Gaga. That would have been insane. 1994 plagiarism lawsuit. Now, for those that are new to this channel, a few years ago, I actually did a video regarding some of the controversial moments regarding Michael's music, and one of them that I skipped was actually related to this lawsuit. If some of you didn't know, in 1994, Michael Jackson was accused of plagiarizing Crystal Cartier's song Dangerous for his song, which is also called Dangerous. The only connection that they had between the two was that they repeated the word dangerous throughout the chorus, and it was thankfully thanks to that the court found Michael innocent.
Dangerous. Ooh, dangerous. Dangerous. The cat is so dangerous.
It's so funny too because they said that Michael had basically heard the song and stole it. However, that song never even got fucking popular and Michael never even heard it, but they went in thinking that it was going to be the next He's So Fine versus My Sweet Lord. The will.i.am tracks. I don't know if this was referencing the songs that will.i.am had worked on with Michael, or it's referencing the Thriller 25 remixes that featured will.i.am. I think it's referencing the former, so let's focus on that more. Sometime after the Invincible era, Michael was actually back into the studio, and this time with Black Eyed Peas member will.i.am. Although pretty much all these songs never got released to the public, one of them was actually said to be Fly Girl, which later went on to will.i.am's album Songs About Girls. And actually, speaking of these sessions, the Lost 11th studio album. Although Invincible, Michael's 10th studio album, ended up being his final album, there was speculation going around him making an 11th studio album. The working title was said to be Resurrection, and although they were going to release it sometime in 2006 or 2007, they had decided to delay it to 2009 in support of the This Is It concert series. However, as we all know, Michael had ended up passing away, and thus they left the album unreleased, but some of the songs that were said to be on that album did later go on to appear in both Michael and Escape. The original YouTube upload of Who Is It? Who Is It is the 5th single from Michael's 1991 album Dangerous. And for a good while, the song's accompanying short film wasn't even available on Michael's official YouTube channel. What took its place, however, was a mashup video that the estate had made of previous Michael Jackson short films. Sadly, this is kind of lost media now, so I can't really show it to you, but it consisted of Michael's other short films, including Jam and I think Ghosts. However, it was shortly taken down when the official short film for Who Is It was uploaded in 2016. Sadly, you're just gonna have to take my word for it, but I promise you, it was real. It's just lost media now. 2001 alternative footage. A lot of MJ fans like to seek for anything related to the 2001 Madison Square Garden performance. After all, it ended up being Michael's final live performance aside from This Is It. But what many people don't know is that the airing that played on television regarding the Madison Square Garden is actually 2 different cuts of the best parts at those shows. Thankfully, some people have recorded amateur recordings of what happened at the shows that we never got to see, like a different ending to You Rock My World with all the stars on stage, and a completely different version of The Way You Make Me Feel that featured Britney Spears. Second History Tour Thriller jacket. I think a lot of you might already know this, but one of the most iconic moments from the Michael Jackson History World Tour from 1996 to 1997 was the performance of Thriller. It's still to this day one of the most iconic performances in Michael Jackson history. See what I did there? However, the jacket that Michael wears in that specific performance that everybody knows is light green, light yellow, like what he used in the Dangerous tour. Well, as it turns out, Michael has actually worn the red jacket before in the History tours, and thus it's considered the second History tour jacket. Michael can actually be seen wearing this jacket in the History tour concert in Bucharest, Romania in 1996. Songs that feature Freddie Mercury, or Freddie Mercury songs that feature Michael Jackson. Michael and Freddie had actually worked on two specific songs in particular, State of Shock and There Must Be More to Life Than This. State of Shock later went on to become a Jackson's track and featured Mick Jagger on it, and There Must Be More to Life Than This later went on to just become a solo Freddie Mercury song. Sadly, I don't think any of these songs ever got an official public release. Too bad choreography during Threatened in This Is It. I think what it means is during the final moments of the Thriller part of This Is It, which actually features the instrumentals to the 2001 song Threatened, the choreography that is in that part is said to be from Michael Jackson's movie Ghost that was featured in the part that used the song Too Bad. Michael Jackson owning Eminem's music. Yeah, this kind of happened. Let's start at the beginning. On September 28th, 2004, Eminem dropped the song Just Lose It, which was the first single from his album Encore. The song and its tie-in music video both feature jabs at Michael. 3 years later, in 2007, Jackson's company ATV, or Sony/ATV, purchased the publishing company Famous Music for $370 million. And just by pure coincidence, some of Eminem's back catalog was indeed published by Famous Music. So whenever that song ended up playing on the radio or playing on TV, Jackson got paid for it. That's incredible. Casio track in This Is It. Okay, so this has a pretty long and complex history, so I'm going to try to explain it as brief as possible. Eddie Casio is a musician that Michael has known and I think worked with before, but he's more infamous nowadays in the MJ fan community because of the songs that appeared in the 2010 Michael album that featured fake vocals that were sung by Jason Malachi. And there were a lot of other songs that he and Malachi had worked on before in the past. One of them was a song called Water. But freakishly enough, in the footage for This Is It that later went on into the movie, you can hear and see Michael singing the chorus to Water.
Some water.
Now, because we actually already know before that some of the parts in This Is It were dubbed over, so we don't know if Michael actually did sing this or not, or it was Jason Malachi doing it like how he did in the 2010 Michael album, but who knows? Either way, it's kind of weird and also kind of freakish. The falsetto in Earth Song. A lot of you know about that really big ending section in Earth Song. This is the one part that makes this song really impactful, where Michael is just growling, aggressive about what people are doing to our environment. It's an incredible way to end the song. However, at one point before those final decisions were made, Michael originally sang that part of the song in falsetto. In fact, they actually took those falsetto versions and dubbed them over for This Is It. Either that or Michael sang them that way. I'm pretty sure it's either way. And this falsetto version was going to appear in a special 2001 deluxe set of Dangerous. However, that never came into fruition. She Was Lovin' Me rock version. She Was Lovin' Me was a demo song that was recorded by Michael that later on became the song Chicago on Escape. Both that version of the song and the original version that's on the deluxe set of Escape have a more popish or R&B tone to it. However, there also exists a rock version of it that, according to this YouTube upload, was done by Michael's nephew and Tito's son, Terrell Jackson. Michael Jackson wanting to own the rights to Spider-Man. Yeah, this was going to happen apparently. According to a 2009 interview with Stan Lee, Michael was wanting to own the rights to Spider-Man. He actually called him and asked him that he wanted to own the rights to the character or possibly wanting to play the part of Spider-Man. He didn't think Marvel would allow him to do so, so Jackson on the spot said that he would buy Marvel. But man, imagine that. Instead of Tom Holland, we got fucking Michael Jackson. Ghosts is a sequel to Thriller. Much like Thriller, Ghost tells its story in a spooky fashion. However, it's more focused on just dealing with a backstabbing person or a person that wants to tear everything apart. It doesn't have much actual connections to actual ghosts, much like how Thriller doesn't actually have any connections with anything horror related. It's just a tale about a person dealing with their body changing. So because of these connections, some people might believe that Ghost is a direct sequel to Thriller, and then I can honestly understand. The girl behind the song 𝘵�々𝘰𝘯𝘬𝘺. 𝘵𝘵𝘰𝘯𝘬𝘺 is the second to final track off of History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1. The song was based on artwork by 𝘵𝑭𝘶𝘬𝘺 that was based on the actual story of a girl named Susie Condry who ended up having their life taken away from them too soon in 1972. There's also an urban legend going around saying that if you listen to this song with headphones at night and you call out Susie's name, Susie would respond to you, which honestly is pretty creepy. The This Is It, The Way You Make Me Feel amateur recordings. During the This Is It rehearsal, some fans had ended up overhearing Michael performing The Way You Make Me Feel during the rehearsals, and thus they had decided to record it and leak it online. As the title suggests, the recordings are a bit, amateur, but it's still very interesting. The 2009 Dangerous amateur recording. Much like The Way You Make Me Feel, and I think a couple of other songs, Dangerous had ended up being rehearsed, and some fans ended up overhearing and decided to record it and leak it online. The condition this one is in is actually a bit worse than The Way You Make Me Feel one, but still, you could definitely tell it's dangerous. I think. Memorial clothing. Although, obviously, photos of Michael were never taken when he was wearing this was indeed the final outfit Michael ever wore as, well, he was buried in it. It was designed by Michael Bush, who had worked with Michael for the past 25 years up to this point, and it was based on Michael's favorite jacket and pants at the request of the Jackson family. LaToya also says that Michael was buried wearing the white glove, sunglasses, and gold belt, which is something that you could see on the clothing that Bush had designed. The original recording of Another Day. Another Day was a song that appeared on the 2010 posthumous Michael album. And while the version that appears on that album is pretty iconic, not a lot of people actually got to hear what the original recording sounded like. In fact, same can be said for a lot of Michael's demos. Like, tell me, think of somebody that you know of that actually got to hear the original demo to The Girl Is Mine. Trust me, I don't think you'll find one. The first History Tour Thriller jacket. So while everybody already knows about the light green, light yellow jacket, and everybody already knows about the red jacket, there's actually another jacket that had been used that almost nobody knows about. Only one recording of the Thriller performance exists with this jacket, and it was in Amsterdam, 1996. The jacket is red and has these neat little white outlines surrounding it. I have to say, it actually looks pretty cool. I'm kind of surprised this hasn't been used more often. The Decade Greatest Hits compilation. Decade was an unreleased Greatest Hits compilation that would have been released sometime in 1989. But unlike the 11th studio album mentioned earlier, we actually have a lot of info as to what Decade would have been about. Much like the name implies, Decade was going to be focusing on the decade between 1979 and 1989. It would have featured 4 brand new songs. Yes, these were new at the time. Black or White, Heal the World, It Doesn't Really Matter, which was actually a demo of Who Is It, and believe it or not, another Beatles cover, this time being Strawberry Fields Forever. Oh man, that would have been so cool to listen to. Gene Walker, get on that. However, 1990 rolls around and Michael ends up missing 4 deadlines when it comes to this greatest hit set, and because it didn't get released in 1989, he had to change it to decades 1980 to 1990 and included 4 new songs, this time being adult covers of I'll Be There and Never Could Say Goodbye, as well as 2 new songs, Men in Black, which actually didn't get released, and Gone Too Soon. Ultimately, they axed the idea for decades, and they just decided to take all the new material they had made for it, added a couple new songs, and it all ended up becoming his new album, Dangerous. You could also argue that History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1 bases itself off of what Decade was going to be about. since both are double disc records that featured both classic songs that Michael released in the past as well as new songs, as well as the titles themselves having words that are based on durations of time, you know, a decade being 10 years and history being an undefined amount of years. However, I personally think that was just a pure coincidence. Surprisingly, we actually do have some official album covers for decades, so that's pretty cool. And not only that, but we also got the official track listings for both versions of decades. Honestly, I feel like we have enough material here for it to be possible again, and I also feel like some people might be able to reproduce it. And finally, in what I consider to be the deepest part of this iceberg, especially considering it is on the final layer of the iceberg, the Bible album. You know that 𝘵𝘰𝘶𝘵𝘠 track I mentioned earlier, Water? Well, it comes from this album. Bible is a collection of 12 tracks that were produced by 𝘵𝘰𝘶𝘶 between 2007 and 2010, and they were attributed to his friend, which of course ended up being Michael Jackson. It's actually thanks to this that many people question about the authenticity of the Casio tracks. And it's kind of not a big shocker, especially since the songs Monster, Breaking News, and Keep Your Head Up ended up appearing in the 2010 posthumous Michael album, so this is all kind of bullshit. But either way, sometime in 2018, it was sold off at auction and was given to an anonymous collector, but 4 years prior to that, in 2014, all 12 tracks of the album were leaked. It's kind of funny that this is so low on the list, even though those 3 songs ended up appearing on something that was really big because of the unauthenticity of it. But to be fair, because of how obscure it is and how weird it is, it deserves to be very low on the list. It's also kind of weird because one artist that Michael had actually collaborated with in the past was Kanye West, and later on in 2019, Kanye released his own religious album called Jesus is King, which coincidentally enough also featured a song called Water. But to be fair, that's just a weird coincidence. And with that, that was the Michael Jackson Iceberg. I have to say, in my honest opinion, although it was a little bit all over the place, I still had a fun time reading this. Especially since there was actually quite a lot of stuff on here I didn't even know about. Like that Bible album stuff, that kind of freaked me out for a bit. But yeah, like I said at the start of the video, I would like to give a big thank you to Reddit user MasterMichael777 for letting me use their Michael Jackson Iceberg chart for this video that they had posted on the Michael Jackson subreddit. This video honestly wouldn't have existed without them. But I want to hear what you think. What do you think of Michael Jackson? Do you like him? Do you not like him? Do you like his discography? Do you like this Michael Jackson Iceberg? Tell me all of that in the comments below. And if you have any other suggestions on what I should discuss next, and if you have any fan art that you want to submit to me, you can submit them all via Twitter, Discord, or in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I upload a video. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. I hope you really enjoyed this. Honestly, this took quite a lot out of me, but still, it was really fun doing this. Anyways, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.